Geraint Davies.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've got to say that what we're witnessing here is the most expensive hoax in history. £2 billion wasted preparing for a no-deal situation that would bring a catastrophic impact for our economy. We'd have medicine shortages, food shortages. We'd have an economy 10% smaller, £6 billion cost in tariffs. For vehicles, 2.1 billion alone, food 1.6 billion, metals 1.1 billion, and so it goes on. The million people who depend on insulin, who are diabetics, would be put at risk. We've already heard about radioisotopes. This is not and cannot, from any serious government, be a serious proposition. The idea that this is what you face, this catastrophe, unless you accept this botched deal that nobody wants. So it's completely unreasonable. And moving to the deal, the botched deal as I call it, basically people voted reasonably for, they wanted more money, more jobs, more trade, control of migration, control of their laws, and that sounds quite reasonable. It's reasonable to vote for all that. Wouldn't knock anyone for that. The problem is that they're not getting any of those things in this deal. So it's reasonable for them to want to reject it, and it's reasonable and right, they should have the right to reject it in a public vote on the deal. And quite frankly, people say, well, they voted this way, and if we force them to have another vote, they'll be terribly angry. They'll be much more angry when they lose their jobs and their livelihoods. A lot of people I speak to now in Swansea say, I voted leave, but I didn't vote to leave my job. 25,000 people in Swansea Bay rely on EU exports. They're critically worried about tariffs and constraints, even within the deal that's being proposed, because we won't be part of the single market. I promised in my election manifesto, my personal promises to Swansea in 2017, that I do my utmost to ensure we were in the single market to avoid those problems and give the people the right to have the final say on whether they wanted the deal. That was my pledge, and my vote went up 50% to 60% share, to the highest share, Labour share in history, higher than 45, higher than 1997, without even a Labour government. And so that's in a leave area. People have changed their minds because they've seen the facts and they've changed their minds. And any rational person would. And the irrationality of the government just saying, oh, well, that's what they thought 2 years ago before they knew the impacts, so we've got to force feed that when they ordered a steak and they got a bit of chewed up bacon. They've got to still eat it. It's completely ridiculous. The reality will be, under the deal, I'm not talking about the catastrophic gun they're holding to our head, under the May's deal, which, she's tried her best to do what she can. The reality is we will end up a rule taker rather than a rule maker. There won't be any less migration. It'll just be from further afield, more culturally different. There won't be more trade. There'll be less trade because we won't have the collective leverage of the EU to negotiate with China, with Donald Trump, with any other large market. All the bilateral trade deals, anyone in their right mind, whether it's from Europe-wide to South Korea, whatever, Chile, they'll also, hold on, we're negotiating with a single country rather than the collective now. We want a better deal. So we'll have worse terms, worse trade, less money and less jobs. People don't want that. And I say to those people who say, well, they'll be very angry with other people's vote, they'll be absolutely enraged if they find them much poorer with poorer jobs because we force through this deal that's a sort of botched deal. But obviously it's not the catastrophe that's being said to be the choice. And that's why yesterday I moved a presentation bill basically saying we should revoke Article 50 if this place can't agree a deal that's then ratified by the public. And that would enable us to stay where we are, in the status quo, in the EU, and that's what businesses want. People may talk about democracy and parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary democracy involves a duty of care to our citizens. And I have, been saying on behalf of Swansea, look, we want a vote, we want to stay in the single market, at least, as well as the customs union, and they've endorsed that. They haven't said, oh no, this is terrible, because they expect me to think about these things day in, day out, which I do. So no deal would be a disaster it should be taken off the table. It's irresponsible, waste of £2 billion. We should give the people the final say and then decide what's best. Because ultimately, our children and our children's children will make a judgment about what we've done. And if it's to set us off on this road to ruin, isolation and inward-lookingness, as opposed to being part of a collective of our shared values of rights of democracy, of the rule of law and shared prosperity and creating a better world, if we choose it wrong, they will never forgive us. So give the people the final say.
Mike Hill.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And